Dear students, this is the third unit of the comparative government and politics. And in this third unit, I will going to discuss about the constitutions. And when we're talking about the constitutions, that means a constitution is a set of fundamental rules that determine how a country or a state is run. Almost all constitutions are codified, which simply means they are written down clearly in a specific document called the constitutions. However, some countries such as Israel, New Zealand, United Kingdoms have uncodified constitutions which can be found written down nearly in one particular place. Constitutions usually include the following basic elements. That means कि when we talking about the constitutions, constitution is basically a written or oral fundamental documents on which any country or nation is run. And this is very important things about the there is two types of the constitutions. One is written constitutions that is also called the codified constitutions, and India is also have the written constitutions. USA have also the written constitutions, but uncodified, that means unwritten constitutions like United Kingdoms, New Zealand, and Israel's. And there are so many different constitutions usually include the following basic elements. First of the importance, that is fascinating introductory statements setting up the purpose of the constitutions known as preambles. That means कि this is the preamble is the gist of the constitutions and very brief of the constitutions. And second important components is that detailed descriptions of how power is to be distributed between the three branches of the governments, that is legislature, executive and judiciary, as well as between the national and state level of governments. That means constitutions also have a kind of the detailed descriptions about the different branches of the governments like the legislature, the main purpose of the legislature to formations of the policy, programs and law. And executive is also second importance parts of the government, that is they are implementing through the bureaucracy of the program, policy and law and all the things. And judiciary is third important organs of the government. The main objective of judiciary is to resolve the dispute between the one department or between one or two departments, as well as one department and other individual persons. Another thing of the constitution, that is guarantee certain basic rights enjoyed the individual citizens of the country. That means that every persons have some kind of the fundamental rights they can enjoy. Nobody can take away of their rights. Second important explanations as constitutions include the most fundamental rules governing a society. It is generally more difficult for them to be amended than it to pass ordinary pieces of legislations. For example, in the US, passing constitutions amendments require either a two-third majority of both houses of Congress before being approved by three quarters of the states, and alternatively, a constitution's conventions can be called by two-thirds of the US state, which can propose amendment that will then need to be approved by three quarters of the state. Both of these processes are much more difficult to complete than simply passing a legislations through a majority by both the houses of Congress and reflecting the fundamental importance of the rules set out in the constitution. That means that whenever we want to amend the constitutions of the any country, there is very difficult, not easy to amendment of the constitutions like in even in the India or even in the USA. There is a need for the two-third majority to pass in the Congress. But whenever the parliaments making the some kind of the policy or legislations, there is a need to the 50 plus 1% of voting percentage. So this is the very easy way we can understand itself. When want to constitutions amend, there is difficult process. And we have the in contrast the United Kingdoms, that means key in England there is uncodified constitutions vested ultimate authority in the parliament to make or unmake any law and to quote by A.V. Dicey under the principles of parliamentary sovereignty. Since there is no written constitutions of the United Kingdoms, any law passed by parliament has the potential to be constitutional significance, meaning the authority or for altering the UK constitution ultimately lie with the parliaments. That means in the British Parliament there is no any have the written documents, but in their practices there is some kind of the norms and parliaments of the United Kingdom that is supreme sovereignty that is called the parliamentary sovereignty. Another thing that is non-state body such as company can also have the constitutions which set out the purpose of the company as well as ground rules by which it is sovereign. That means ki nations or a state have most of the nations or a state have their own constitutions, but some kind of the associations, organizations, they also form their own constitutions for the convenience of governance and their routine works and all the things. Now come to the constitutions are of the different country. I am going to hear brief about the constitutions of the different country. Constitutions are the fundamental legal documents that outline the structures, power, functions of a government as well as rights and duty of the citizens. Here are an overview of some notable constitutional around the world. That means when we talking about the constitutions, and constitutions is a supreme legal documents that outline the structures, power, functions of the governments as well as rights and duty of the people. First important descriptions about the United States constitutions that was adopted in 1787 and ratified in 1788. And the main key features of the USA constitutions that is separations of powers. That means we divide the government into the three branches like executive, legislative, and judiciary, and there is no any kind of the overlapping of the works in among these organs of the governments like the executive, legislative, and judiciary. Main purpose of the executive, yeah, main functions of the executive is to implementations of program, policy, and law that was formulated by the legislature through the bureaucratic setups. And legislative have some kind of the special power to formulations of the law, policy, programs by the elected members of the parliaments. And judiciary have some kind of the solving the disputes among departments, between department, and also between the departments and individuals and between the two persons. And next important key features of the US constitutions that is federalisms. Power are divided between the federal governments and the states. That means there is no only the central governments. There is also divisions of the powers between the federal and the state governments and federal state governments that is the units of the federal governments. And there is also Bill of Rights. The first 10 amendments grant the fundamental rights such as freedoms of speech, religions, and press. This is very important uh, features of the US constitutions. That means that these are very given to the importance of right to freedoms, right to a speech, religions, and press. Amendment process allow for amendment to be made, ensuring the constitutions can adapt over time. That means that there is amendment process in the US constitutions is also, but process is not very easy. There must be two-third majority for the amendments of the US constitutions. Now come to the second important constitutions of the world, that is United Kingdoms. United Kingdom has unwritten constitutions that is also called uncodified constitutions, and these are judicial decisions, works of authority, conventions, and different kind of the comprising statute. Key features of the United Kingdom constitutions are parliamentary sovereignty. That means the parliament is the supreme legal authority and capable of creating or enduring any kind of the law. Same type that means ki here Supreme Court of the judiciary very important things like in the United Kingdom Parliament sovereignty is very important things. Second important key features of the United Kingdom constitutions that is rule of law. That means ki everyone is subject to the law, including lawmakers. That means ki when we talking about the rule of law, no any persons, no nobody is above the law. Every persons have coming under the same subjects or same kind of the law. There is also a constitutional monarchy. The monarchy acts as a ceremonial head of the state within the parameters set by the constitutions. That means United Kingdom is a not a republic country but a constitutional monarchy. Next important key features of the United Kingdom that is common law systems. that when we're talking about the legal decisions are based on the precedents and judicial interpretations. And this is very important steps of the United Kingdom constitutions. Now, brief in details about the Indian constitutions. Indian constitutions that is called the Constitutions of India and it was adopted in 1950. Some important features in later I will go in detail about the Indian constitutions, but here I'm giving the brief features of the documents of constitutions like the federal structure. That means ki there is also division of power between the central governments and state governments, and we have the different kind of the list, subject list like the central list, the state list, and concrete list. When we're talking about the central list, like the defense, Indian railway, bankings, insurance, civil aviations, international relations, these are coming into the central list, and central government can legislate on these subjects. A state list like the law and order, security, prisons, these are coming into the state list. And concrete list, that means ki both a state and central government can formulate the policy like the education, agriculture, sports, etc. Second important things of the Indian constitution, that is parliamentary systems. A dual system with the president as the head of the state and prime minister as the head of the government. That means here is a parliamentary system of governments, and parliament is more important in compared to the president's post. Fundamental rights and duty ensure civil liberty and important certain duty on the citizens. This is also a important part. Directive principles, guidelines for the states to ensure social and economic welfares. This is very important things. Uh, Guidelines for the states to ensure social and economic welfares. Next important constitutions of the Germany. When we're talking about the Germany, that is basic law for Federal Republic of Germany, and it was adopted in 1949. And key features of the Germany constitution, that is federalisms, division of power between the federal governments and lander there is called the states. Basic right grant the fundamental rights and freedoms. Parliamentary systems, the chancellor is the head of governments while the president is the ceremonial head of states. Constitutional courts ensure law conform to the basic law. These are the some basic idea about the Germany constitutions. Next constitutions of the France. That means when we talking about the constitutions of the France, that document constitutions of the Fifth Republic, and it was adopted in the 1958. And here is also some important features of the constitutions of France. First important feature, that is semi-presidential system. That means ki combined presidentials and parliamentary systems with a president and a prime minister. That means ki here is not a like the USA presidential system of governments, or like unlike a India there is a parliamentary system of government. That is a mixed kind of the system, that is called the semi-presidential system of the governance. A strong executive, that means the president has significant powers, including appointing the prime ministers. Council of States and Constitutional Council, what is that, advise the governments and ensure the constitutionality of the law. This is also very important things. And next, that is the civil law system, legal system based on the written code. This is the another important key features of the constitutions of the France. Now come to the constitutions of the China. The constitutions of the China, that is called the Constitutions of Republic of China. It's adopted in 1982 with several amendments since, and there is key feature that the socialist state led by the Communist Party of China (CPC), and it is a socialist state, not a capitalist state. Unitary system, centralized authority with National People Congress as the highest state body. There is no any kind of the division of powers. And third is important feature, economic rights. That is emphasis on the state ownership and economic reform for the developments. Citizens' rights and duty, list citizens' fundamental rights and duty, emphasizing the collective over individuals' right. These are the important key features of the constitutions of the China. It is a socialist state. Here is a some how the power is centralized within the National People Congress, and its economic rights emphasis on the state ownerships and economic reform for the developments and citizens' rights and duty list citizens' fundamental rights and duty, emphasizing the collective over individuals' rights. Next constitutions, that is the constitutions of Russia and constitutions of Russian federations, and that was adopted in 1993. Key features of the Russian constitutions, that is federal structures, division of power between the federal governments and its constituent entity, semi-presidential system. The presidents hold significant executive powers with a prime minister appointed by the presidents. Constitutional code ensure law and regulations conform to the constitutions and fundamental rights, constitutions, basic human rights and freedoms. So these are the key elements or key features of the Russian constitution. Now come to the another constitutions of the another nations, very important, that is South Africa. Documents that is called the constitutions of the Republic of South Africa, and its constitutions was adopted in the 1996. And here some important key features of the South African constitutions, that is Bill of Rights, comprehensively enumerated of civil, political, and socio-economic rights. Second important feature, that is separations of power, divide government into the executive, legislative, and judiciary. Another thing, that is the transformative constitutions aims to redress past injustice and promote social justice. Next is that is called the parliamentary system, presidents elected by the National Assembly. This is very important things when we talking about it. In the last, we can say that these constitutions reflect the diverse approaches to the governance, human rights, and legal system across the world. These embody the historical, cultural, political context of their respective country, providing the frameworks for their government and the society. That means the constitutions is very important legal document for providing the governance, democratic setups in the within the nations. So this is the I am going to the wind up the lectures of the constitutions. Thank you.